We're starting on page 227, and we're reading. And then all you guys have to do is answer one question afterwards. August dawned blue and hot. The heat swooped low over the land, clinging like an invisible shroud, and through it people moved slowly, lethargically, as if under water. In the ripening fields, the drying cotton and corn stretched tiredly skyward, awaiting the coolness of a rain that occasionally threatened but did not come. And the land took on a baked brown look. To escape the heat, the boys and I often ambled into the coolness of the forest after the chores were done. There, while the cows and their calves grazed nearby, we sat on the banks of the pond, our backs propped against an old hickory or pine or walnut, our feet dangling lazily in the cool water, and waited for a watermelon brought from the garden to chill. Sometimes Jeremy joined us there, making his way through the deep forest land from his own farm over a mile away, but the meetings were never planned. None of our parents would have liked that. "How's your papa?" he asked one day, as he plopped down beside us. "He's all right," said Stacy, "'ceptin' his leg's bothering him in this heat, itching a lot. But Mama says that's a sign it's getting well." "That's good," murmured Jeremy. "Too bad he had to get hurt when he done so's he couldn't go back on the railroad." Stacy stirred uneasily, looked at Christopher John, Little Man, and me, reminding us with his eyes that we were not to speak about the Wallace's part in Papa's injury, and said only, "Uh-huh." Jeremy was silent a moment, then stuttered, "Some folks saying they glad he got hurt, glad he can't make that railroad money." "Who said that?" I cried, jumping up from the bank. "Just tell me who said it, and I'll ram—" "Cassie, sit down and be quiet," Stacy ordered, reluctantly. I did as I was told, wishing that his business about the Wallaces and Papa's injury were not so complex. It seemed to me that since the Wallaces had attacked Papa and Mr. Morrison, the simplest thing to do would be to tell the sheriff and have them put in jail. But Mama said things didn't work that way. She explained that as long as the Wallaces, embarrassed by their injuries at the hands of Mr. Morrison, did not make an official complaint about the incident, then we must remain silent also. If we did not, Mr. Morrison could be charged with attacking white men, which could possibly end in his being sentenced to the chain gang, or worse. I ain't the one said it, Cassie," stammered Jeremy by way of apology. "Well, whoever's saying it ought not to be," I said huffily. Jeremy nodded thoughtfully and changed the subject. "Y'all seen TJ lately?" Stacy frowned, considering whether or not he should answer. There had been much talk concerning TJ and the Sims brothers, all of it bad. Mo Turner's father had told Papa that TJ had stopped by with the Simpsons once, and after they had left he had discovered his watch missing. The Laniers had had the same experience with the locket. "That TJ done turned real bad," Mr. Lanier had said, "and I don't want nothing to do with no thief, especially no thief running around with white boys." Finally, Stacy said, "Don't see him much no more." Jeremy pulled at his lip. "I see him all the time." "Too bad," I sympathized. Stacy glanced reproachfully at me, then lay flat upon the ground, his head resting in the cushion of his hands clasped under his head. "It sure is beautiful up there," he said, pointedly changing the subject. The rest of us lay back too. Overhead, the branches of the walnut and hickory trees met like a long green fan sheltering us. Several feet away, the persistent sun made amber roads of shimmering sunlight upon the pond. A stillness hovered in the high air, soft, quiet, peaceful. "I think when I grow up I'm going to build me a house and some trees and just live there all the time," said Jeremy. "How are you going to do that?" asked Little Man. "Oh, I'll find me some real strong trees and just build. I figure I'll have the trunk of one tree in the bedroom and the other in the kitchen." "How come you want to live in a tree for?" Christopher John inquired. "It's so peaceful up there." "And quiet. Cool, too," answered Jeremy. "Especially at night." "How you know how cool it is at night?" I said. Jeremy's face brightened. "'Cause I got my bedroom up there." We looked at him, unbelieving. I do, really. Built it myself, and I sleeps up there. Come these hot nights, I just climbs in my tree, and it's like going into another world. Why, I can see and hear things up there that I bet you only the squirrels and the birds can see and hear. Sometimes I think I can even see all the way over to y'all's place." "Aw, shoot, boy, you're a story," I said. "Your place too far away, and you know it." Jeremy's face dropped. "Well, maybe I can't see it, but that don't keep me from pretending I do." He was silent a second, then hopped up suddenly, his face bright again. "Hey, why don't y'all come on over and see it? My pa's going to be gone all day, and it'd be lots of fun, and I could show y'all—" "No," said Stacy quietly. his eyes still on the trees overhead. Jeremy sat back down, deflated. Just wanted y'all to see it, that's all. For a while he looked hurt by Stacy's cold refusal. Then, seeming to accept it as a part of the things that were, he again took up his position and volunteered good-naturedly. If y'all ever get a chance to build yourselves a treehouse, just let me know and I'll help you. It's just as cool. Papa sat on a bench in the barn, his broken leg stretched awkwardly before him, mending one of Jack's harnesses. He had been there since early morning, a frown line carved deep into his forehead, quietly mending those things which needed mending. Mama told us not to bother him, and we stayed away from the barn as long as we could, but by late afternoon we drifted naturally to it and began our chores. Papa had disappeared within himself, and he took no notice of us at first, but shortly afterward he looked up, watching us closely. When the chores were almost finished, Mr. Morrison arrived from Strawberry, where we had gone to make the August mortgage payment. He entered the barn slowly and handed Papa an envelope. Papa glanced up questioningly, then ripped it open. As he read the letter, his jaw set tightly, and when he finished, he smashed his fist so hard against the bench that the boys and I stopped what we were doing, aware that something was terribly wrong. "They tell you?" he asked of Mr. Morrison, his voice curt, angry. Mr. Morrison nodded. "I tried to get them to wait till after cotton picking, but they told me it was due and payable immediately. Them's their words." "Harlan Granger," said Papa quietly. He reached for his cane and stood up. "You feel up to going back to Strawberry tonight?" "I can make it, but I don't know if this old mule can." "Then hitch Lady to it," he said, motioning to the mare. He turned then and went to the house. The boys and I followed, not quite sure of what was happening. Papa entered the kitchen. We stayed on the porch, peering through the screen. "David, something the matter, son?" "The bank called up the note. I'm going to Strawberry." "Called up the note?" echoed Big Ma. "Oh, Lord, not that, too." Mama stared at Papa, fear in her eyes. "You going now?" "Now," he said, leaving the kitchen for their room. Mama's voice trailed him. "David, it's too late. The bank's closed now. You can't see anyone until morning." We could not hear Papa's reply, but Mama's voice rose sharply. "You want to be out on that road again in the middle of the night after what happened? You want us worried to death about you?" "Mary, don't you understand they're trying to take the land?" Papa said, his voice rising too so that we heard. "Don't you understand? I don't want you dead." We could hear nothing else. But a few minutes later, Papa came out and told Mr. Morrison to unhitch Lady. They would go to Strawberry in the morning. The next day, Papa and Mr. Morrison were gone before I arose. When they returned in the late afternoon, Papa sat wearily down at the kitchen table with Mr. Morrison beside him. Rubbing his hand over his thick hair, he said, "I called Hammer." "What did you tell him?" Mama asked. "Just that the note's been called. He said he'd get the money." "How?" "He didn't say, and I didn't ask. Just said he'd get it." "And Mr. Higgins at the bank, David," said Big Ma, "what'd he have to say?" "Said our credit's no good anymore." "We aren't even hurting the Wallaces now," Mama said, with acid anger. "Harlan Granger's got no need—" "Baby, you know he's got a need," Papa said, pulling her to him. "He's got a need to show us where we stand in the scheme of things. He's got a powerful need to do that. Besides, he still wants this place." "But, son, that mortgage gives us 4 more years." Papa laughed dryly. "Mama, you want me to take it to court?" Big Ma sighed and placed her hand on Papa's. "What if Hammer can't get the money?" Papa did not look at her, but at Mr. Morrison instead. "Don't worry, Mama. We ain't gonna lose the land. Trust me." You can stop right here and go ahead and answer your 1 multiple choice question on the Google form, and then you are finished.